Welcome to Dysfunctional Adults, the podcast in which we discuss pop culture, entertainment, and being middle-aged dads. We are aging, disgruntled Gen-Xers who are heavily crippled by debt, but that's what makes this podcast so much fun. I'm Jason, and this is...
I'm John. Hi, Zach.
And we're coming at you from my tiny office, which will become a sweltering sauna in about 10 minutes because we closed the door.
Good thing we're naked.
We're really excited because today we have a guest. DJ Butler is his author name. David Butler. I call him Dave, if that's okay, Dave.
Most people call me Dave. Yeah, that's
awesome. So we're really grateful to have you today. Just a little bit about Dave. He's, like I said, an author. He's published with Baen. It's pretty much the definitive name in science fiction books. They also do some fantasy. He has the Witchy Eye series, which is an award-winning series published through Baen. And that's, I remember being on a road trip with him back in 2015, and he was telling me the synopsis of it. And I'm like, that sounds really cool. And then he goes and publishes it with Baen and wins awards. And then now I'm just jealous. So he's also published a number of other books. Some of them, Rock Band Fights Evil series. It's a really great series of short novellas. I guess they're novels though, right?
It depends on where you draw the line. I want to say they're 30 to 35,000 words. So I think that's a long novella, or in some audiences that could be a novel, but I think of them as novellas.
They're great supernatural action. I wish it was a TV show. I would watch it faithfully.
Absolutely.
Just a little bit of inside baseball. Zach actually is the narrator for the audio version of
Correct.
So he's also published through Random House, one of Random House's imprints, Clockwork Charlie, which is basically what steampunk take on kind of Pinocchio. Is that?
Yeah, but an action adventure steampunk Pinocchio is a great, slightly spoilery way to say it. It's commonly how I describe it.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, this I've had the fortune of being Dave's friend since it was Worldcon. Is that when we kind of started hanging out? Not Worldcon. It was
WesterCon.
WesterCon.
WesterCon that year when it was opposite FantasyCon, and so WesterCon looked like a bomb had gone off and killed everyone.
Yeah.
I had one of the first panels, and there was like me. It was about the audiobook for City of the Saints. And there was me and the audiobook guy, Darren Hansen, and nobody. A panel of two outnumbered the audience of zero.
Well, FantasyCon did a very clever thing. They said if you have passed a WesternCon, you can get into FantasyCon. And so what that did basically was everybody just went across the street to the Salt Palace.
It was insane. Peter S. Beagle was at WesternCon for a signing, and I walked in there and I texted my wife and said, there is nobody here. There's no one in line for Peter S. Beagle. And so she put the kids in the car and drove up an hour from Provo, because it's just like, this is the guy who wrote The Last Unicorn, right? It's like one of the short lists for the classic fantasy novels. And footnote, it was like one of his first books. He's like 25. So he's like David Hume. He's one of these guys who puts out his masterwork first and spends the rest of his career and figure out what else to do. Anyway, so we got to like hang out with him for 10 minutes because there was no one else. And you know what? He sounded like Zach. He talked like this.
Sexy voice.
When I lived in England, I've never actually lived in England, but I wrote this book. It's set in Shropshire, and yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was a good time. But ever since, I've had the fortune of going on a couple of road trips with you to do. Denver was.
We went to Spokane, right? Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And but you're leaving out one of my most important publishers, Immortal Works, right? I have a young adult thriller called The Wilding Probate.
Yep.
With Immortal Works.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a company.
My favorite Utah publisher.
the only non-sleazy Utah publisher.
Yeah, the only acceptable Utah publisher. Yeah.
We'll work harder to get sleazy. So maybe that's the hallmark of a successful publisher. No, we love Dave. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today. And he's published a lot. We'll include his credentials here at the end, and also on Facebook, so you can check out his stuff. It's great. I haven't read everything he's written, but what I have read is awesome. You get a lot of these authors who just churn out kind of a template fantasy book, A, B, C, D, and E happens, and it ends with, this, but Dave has a really unique spin on it, and his stuff is excellent. One of the best writers I know. So,
thanks, man.
Very good at character creation, and I mean, each character is so individual, at least for the books that I read. But
yeah, good stuff. So,
thank you guys.
No, thank you for being on. So kind of what we do is we just talk a little bit about, and I've been drowning out John. He's not said anything here.
Well, I haven't had much to say so far. I'm sorry, Dave, I have not read your books yet.
Well, how do you feel about cannibals? Because I've been told what's coming up is cannibals.
Spoiler alert.
Cannibals and I understand each other. We get along well.
You'll have a lot to say.
I'm out of here.
I leave them to do their thing. They leave me alone. It's worked out so far. So
You say that now, but wait till you find out the other part.
there's a balance. We don't mess with each other, and we're both.
Do you feel equally at ease with cannibalism, regardless of the body part being eaten? Are you ecumenically cannibal friendly?
So it's like if they eat someone's leg, that's okay, but once they start munching on something else, then it becomes wrong.
There's a line.
Where's the line? Where do you say no longer am I live and let live with the cannibals now?
Inner thighs, perhaps. When they start moving up to the inner thighs, it's like, whoa, that's getting weird.
Okay.
Dinner.
Okay.
I mean, even like the calf, the lower leg, that's fine.
Okay. Well, listen, I haven't heard the actual story yet, but I've heard enough to say brace yourself.
Yeah, he got a primer for what's coming.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Awesome. So kind of how the format of our little podcast works is basically we just kind of talk about, to start off what we've been enjoying as far as entertainment and maybe some pop culture things that go on. But I think John and I can go ahead and start out today because we had an adventure over the weekend.
Yeah. So we went to Vegas last weekend. I mean, my wife and I, we went with this other couple. The girl was pretty cool. The guy was a complete fool. This absolute loser. I mean, yeah, the three of us tried to ditch him the entire time, but
I felt that. I felt that they wanted to ditch me. It's like, hey, let's go walk here.
No, but it was a lot of fun. It was good. Basically, it was good to see Vegas opening up again. I mean, it was full out. It was full out Vegas again, in ways that I heard it wasn't last year. The strip was as busy as I've ever seen it. The casinos were going. I mean, shows were going. Nice. Everything was restaurants. Everything was back to normal, and it was good to see that sense of normalcy kind of returning again.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I realized that I've gained a lot of COVID weight because walking was hard.
Especially when the rest of us kept trying to ditch him.
Yeah, they were like running. They would just break into a sprint, and I felt like I was in elementary school all over again, So let's ditch the
dodgeball.
I had an adventure this last weekend too. Did
awesome.
I tell you this?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was at a science fiction convention in Raleigh, and I was actually not the guest of honor, the recurring something. I don't know. I was like guest of honor number 3. I was like, after David Weber and Larry Correa, I was like the third head on the totem pole, which was great because they gave me a hotel. It's the first time a con ever said, hey, we'll pay the hotel.
Wow.
And I noticed they didn't have a musical guest. So I said, okay, I'm going to be your musical guest. So they gave me an hour and I set up a concert. And I emailed a Zoom link out to my mailing list and I posted it on MeWe. And I have since learned that when you do that, you're supposed to take certain steps, which I hadn't really thought through. At about 13 minutes into my live concert, some fellow named Mariusz Mateusz Gorski, suddenly shows up with a very close-up image of his cannibal entree on the camera. Now I was recording. So said entree, okay, and he was trying to show it off to advantage. He'd clearly lit it, and he was, showing us the various cuts you could get from it. And fortunately, this is not a cut of meat I favor.
You're more of a porterhouse kind of guy, right?
I'm more of a porterhouse. Yeah. We were recording, but fortunately, Zoom records 2 views, or at least it did. One was Just My Window. So that's the one that I put that concert up on YouTube, and it didn't show the other images of people joining the concert, showing off their assets. But if you watch it at about the 13-minute, 20-second mark, one of the other attendees in Zoom yells, "Shut down that video! Shut down that video!" And that's the reason why is because there was an unexpected, uninvited guest. So, yeah, that was my last week adventure, and I've learned now there's a function where you just turn it off and nobody else can turn their camera on. Right? That's the purpose for having that function. It did not occur to me that someone would want to do this.
Oh man,
That is a good way to find out, though.
Yeah, Mateusz, wherever you are,
And now for some reason you have like a whole bunch of new people on your mailing list, right?
Right. Yeah.
You just
Like recipes and all that kind of stuff. The best way to prepare them.
Exactly. I've got a sauce to base that with. If you want to cook it sous vide, let me tell you how.
A little seasoning, saute it, maybe.
You could call it Hello Maine.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we had some meat, and real meat, and in Vegas. We, John and I and our wives decided we were staying at the Luxor, that pyramid hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And it's supposed to be haunted, but I was disappointed. There was no ghosts, just the ghost of smells, So tobacco smoke and marijuana smoke was everywhere, which was awesome. So, but we went to a steakhouse, and John's like, "Oh yeah, it's $50 a plate," So I'm thinking, all right, we're on vacation, we can splurge a little bit. Little did I know, because I'm uncultured swine, that $50 a plate means there's nothing else on the plate except for the one thing.
Just the steak itself. Sides are another 15.
Sides are like $10 each, So no, it's tender.
Tender, but it's like that. It's a prime steakhouse like Fleming's or Ruth Chris, or.
Do they serve cannibals? Or
I don't know.
Well, I hope it was cow. I assume it was cow. Really good steak, but I have never spent, and this is me being a cheap guy. I've never spent that much money on a meal for two. It was good, don't get me wrong, but $200 later. So anyway, we just
special occasions.
Yeah, it was a good time though. We had fun.
We were just gonna stick it all in the. I was just gonna say you're just gonna stick it all in the slot machine anyways. So
I actually did not do any gambling. And that's not like on any moral principles. I just kind of forgot. I've actually never gambled.
Well, Vegas, there's so much other stuff to do. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Wendover, that's all there is to do. So Vegas, you can entertain yourself in a myriad of other ways.
Yeah,
I went to Wendover when I got married.
Did you really?
Friends, before driving out for the wedding in DC, we went to Wendover.
That was your bachelor party? Awesome.
Bachelor party. I came out ahead and I said, okay, I'm never gambling again. That's it. I beat the house. I came up enough to pay for gas, pay for me, my buddy Michael. That's it. I'm done.
Nice.
Never gambled since.
Zach, if you remember, we went with you on your 21st birthday.
Oh, was it my birthday?
It was yours. No.
Oh, okay.
We took the fun bus, me and Richard,
to Wendover.
And it was fun.
We were the only ones like under 70 on the bus. It was a bunch of old people playing bingo the entire way.
But I came out ahead at Red Garter, and that was back when Red Garter wasn't owned by the other conglomerates, and everything was 50-cent tables, 50-cent games. That was a good time.
Yeah, you were playing like the roulette wheel, and you hit it big on one of the numbers.
I broke even.
Yeah. Oh, I remember you hit it big. You made like a couple hundred, and then you kept putting it back and ended up losing most.
I never said I was smart.
Well, it's like house money. It's like I didn't bring this money with me. It's like free money. Yeah, I remember the fun bus more than anything else.
That was fun.
Hanging out with a bunch of grandmas and playing bingo on the way.
Tapping some wrinkled ass.
Don't knock it till you try it. Also has to do with cannibals.
So there's a couple things we talk about on this podcast. And I kind of mentioned to you, Dave, a little bit before we got started. One of the things we always try to do is kind of touch on, how things are going as being fathers, because we're all fathers here. Zach has a 5-year-old, right?
Yeah.
He's 5. Yep. John has twin boys that are 6.
6, yeah.
Yeah, and then his oldest is 9. I have 4 kids. They're all teenagers except for my youngest. He's 11. So we kind of talk a little bit about some of the things, we do. And I kind of wanted to get some of your fatherly take. You are a very busy man, at least pre-pandemic you were, and it sounds like things are kind of ramping up. You mentioned that your work has been likened into being gang raped by baboons, is I believe what you said.
I didn't say that. The audio was not running at the time, but yes, I can say that's sort of my general feeling is that I'm being abused at the hand of a large and unruly mob. Yeah.
So, I remember going on a couple of road trips with you, and you as an author you're all in. You're going to Barnes and Nobles. You're dropping off books and you're doing signings. But one of the things that impressed me about you a couple of years ago was both of us were at Salt Lake Comic-Con, and we were in the green room, and you kind of excused yourself to make a phone call, and you had a German lesson with your son over the phone, a scheduled German lesson. And I was so impressed with that because, here we are in the middle of, all the craziness that is Comic-Con, and you made sure to take that time to give that time to your son. And I've seen your postings on social media. You do a lot with your kids. How do you balance that with your crazy author lifestyle and your other job as a corporate trainer? And don't you own a business too now?
Yeah. So I a year and a bit ago, I got qualified as a registered investment banking representative, and I started a consulting firm. And my partner and I actually closed our first 2 deals in April.
Awesome.
So yeah, thank you. We charged pennies to get the work, so we got paid, but we hope you get paid more in the future. So it's tough. I try to include my kids in stuff. I bring them to cons. The next con I'm planning to go to is GalaxyCon Raleigh in about 8 weeks, and I'm planning on taking my 13-year-old with me.
Awesome.
She likes to go. She is one of her interests. Her art is makeup. She will put on very elaborate makeup, often sort of surreal, even costume-like makeup that's reminiscent of a clown or a pharaoh. Or she went to the last day of school so as not to get in trouble, or the last week of school, but she was going with like bullet holes in her forehead, zombie makeup and stuff, right?
That's not bad. She ever give you a makeover?
No, but our dog does have pink nails. I try to include them. I try to include them in gaming and in the cons. One of the great thing about the COVID pandemic, we moved to Utah, and I grew up here, and I said, we're going to do a lot of hiking. This is going to be great. We're going to go see the Uintas. We're going to go down. I'm going to show you places in, Escalante that are off the map. And it never happened until last year, when all of a sudden I was home all the time. And we did a ton. We got a dog, and we from where I live, you can drive up in an hour and a half. You can be up there, the high Uintas and hiking, or in 3 hours, you can be down in southern Utah or eastern Utah, hiking through a creek under red rock walls. So to some extent, I try to include the kids in things I'm actually doing. Here's another example. I have my first collection of short stories is coming out, I think later this year. My second child, my daughter, who's now 16, edited the stories and wrote an editor's introduction, and also selected from Shutterstock the cover.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my 13-year-old is going to do the second collection, which I basically already have enough material for the next one to follow the year, next year.
Yeah.
So in fact, one of the things she'll do tomorrow is sit down on my Shutterstock account and pick out 10 possible cover images. And I think none of this is a surprise, Jason, to you, right? Because I've seen you work with your son writing and helping him publish. He did the writing, but you helping him publish and sell an epic fantasy novel. How old was he when it came out? 12?
Oh my gosh, he started when he was 12, but he really hit his stride just recently. He's always writing. He just came out with another book last month called The Isle of Erangest, a 90,000 word fantasy novel, and it's really good.
Is he 17 now? 18?
He's 17. He'll be 18 in the fall. So he's really good. And I listened. I haven't read everything he's written. I'm currently working on a master's degree, so my time is super limited. But I've read some of his stuff, and it's impressively complex for someone his age. I think it's really mature writing. I was really impressed. So there's my bragging moment there. So
that's wonderful. There's a book called Fire in the Belly by Sam Keane, which I read back in college. It was one of these survey courses. It was kind of a 2-semester mythology look at world civilization, including we read a sort of a feminist book, and we read this kind of book from the men's movement, and we read Fire in the Belly. And one of the things Keane talked about was, in a traditional sort of childhood arrangement, where a child essentially is raised in the mother's world, and then at some point has to transition kind of into the father's world. One of the great things a child deals with is sort of the demons of doubt. What does my father do? I don't see, my father's not around. What is he doing? Who really is he? And so I think showing, I think it's a great service to sort of be involved in your son's art and say, hey, I know how this works. Let me show you. Here's how you publish, right? Here's how you sell. I think it's great you support him, but I think also it's great in the sense of like making a connection with him and showing him part of what it means to grow up and be a man like you are. So I think that's fantastic.
Hopefully not like me. No, he doesn't go to the bar on Saturday nights when I'm dressed in full drag. So, this is really what a man is. As he'll be like my whatever the loofah thing that they have, the feathered boa. Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. That's a new trend coming up.
Jason's sons will be men in spite of Jason, not because of him.
No, I appreciate it. He's a great kid. All my kids are good kids, but yeah. So yeah, that's great. I really admire how you involve your kids with everything you do. So, have you been watching anything or reading anything lately?
So Emily went, man. So I got serious about my mailing list like 6 months ago. No, like 9 months ago. And one thing I said is, hey, what should I put in this mailing list? And one of the people said was, well, tell us what you're reading. So like, I now feel like I have to read at least a book a week. And I've got a little bit of a buffer. I've got like a stack of 6 books that I've read, but have not yet told the mailing list. So I could go a couple of weeks without reading, right? So I'm reading a lot. I'm reading a lot of science fiction these days. I just read Brian Aldiss's classic sci-fi novel, Hot House. I read Ian Banks' first culture novel. What I'm watching is a Netflix produced, I think it's a 1 season out of Netflix India crime story called Delhi Crime, which is sort of wonderful. Like you watch it and the first blush you feel like, wow, this is like deeply amateur. Like a show like Law and Order is so heavily produced and they're just really taut and punchy and to the point. And this is not. There's all these conversations where they'll be like, well, now we should go get dinner. Do you want to have dinner outside the corner? No, it's too oily. Oh, I heard they use coconut oil in other food. I don't believe it. Right? Like all these conversations. And apparently, right, and I can only assume they know what they're talking about, but apparently the way you solve crimes in India is that all of your policemen know a guy. Oh, I know a guy in the bus industry. I will call him. He for sure will tell us who owns this white bus. Oh, don't worry. That guy over in the Eastern District owes me a favor. Like that's completely the impression this show is giving. I think it's done by Indians. I think they must know what they're talking about. Like there's the victim has bite marks, and it's like episode 3 where some guy says, I saw on this American television show you can measure the bite marks and you can compare them to the suspect's mouth, and like, oh, let us try it. Right? So like the whole, the U.S. crime shows got obsessed with like crime scene investigation. I don't know, starting like 25 years ago or something. It's cops going in the little villages and like, do you want me to shame you in front of your mother? No, then you come with us. Don't worry, madam. He is only coming with us to help answer questions. I'm going to beat the shit out of you, motherfucker. Right? Like, so it's like, on the one hand, it's like, it's sort of rough from what you're expecting. But on the other hand, it's like, there's this whole other culture, right, that sort of thinks about crime stories. It's not Sherlock Holmes, it's not, oh, let's measure the trajectory of the bullet, right? It's like societal. We know people that can help us, who can answer questions, go to the village, go over to, right? So I've really been enjoying about 5 or 6 episodes in. It's like sort of bad, but also sort of awesome.
I'm definitely gonna watch that. That sounds so good.
What's it called again?
It's called Deli Crime.
Deli Crime.
And my favorite is this very kind of homely, slightly rough-looking sergeant. I forget what his name is, but starting about episode 2, like he's mad. His back hurts, and he's getting pissed because it's a pretty heinous crime. So he starts just saying, motherfucker to everybody, constantly. I'm going to beat the shit out of you, motherfucker. Why you do that, you motherfucker? And like over and over again. So it really ramps into the profanity, as the episodes roll on. Apropos of nothing, I guess, except just that I'm amused.
That sounds awesome. Oh, man. That's great.
I'm going to take a break to wipe my eyes.
I know, I'm crying. It's equal parts sauna in here, and then that's just hilarious. So that's awesome. I will definitely have to check that out. When
What are you guys watching?
Well, right now I'm watching Shadow and Bone when I get a second. It's
that's Netflix too, right? It's
a little
kind of gothic.
Kinda. It's pretty interesting. Like the setting is not unlike like the Valkyria setting from the book that I wrote, where they have like muskets and things like that. But then there's these armies, and there's this whole core of like magic users that they call Grisha. It's got the guy who played Prince Caspian in it. He's one of the magic users. And it's really interesting. I'm almost done. I've got one episode left, but I'm digging it. It's pretty good. It's movie budget level, high production. Not as awesome as Deli Crimes, it sounds like, but it's good. And then me, I'm a fantasy hound, so that's kind of my shtick.
That's not the only hound you are.
Okay, so hold on. So I have a recommendation for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm going to put this in the chat to try and make sure I spell this right. So I think it's spelled like that. Bahubali. It is a 6-hour long Indian epic fantasy story that it goes forward to sort of a middle point, and then you realize at the end of part 1, shocking fact about the backstory, and then you go back and get the backstory. It opens with a woman, and she's being attacked. She's being shot. And she's running through the mountains. And she stops and gives birth. And she's running, right? And she's being hit. She's gonna die. And so she's beneath this mountain, and she's like, Shiva, my only request of you is you must save the baby. And then she basically drowns, but as a dead woman, you see her hand above the waves holding the baby like this. It's over the shore and deposits the baby, who's the baby is Bahubali, who grows up. It's like the Lord of the Rings if Peter Jackson lost all sense of restraint on the action scenes, right? Sure, he just, there's 2 guys fighting, and on the same side, and one will yell, Bahubali, and Bahubali doesn't look, he just throws a sword, and then right? So lose all sense of restraint, and whenever there are strong feelings, they sing and dance.
I was going to ask, is there dancing?
It's like a Bollywood Lord of the Rings. It is so fantastic. It's so fantastic.
I'm going to have to watch that.
Epic.
That's great. What about you guys? You anything you've been watching this week? Anything new?
I've just started rewatching all the Harry Potter movies with my son because he's never seen them before, and he's reading the books. He wanted to watch all the movies with me. And as a sports fan, I got to say, I've always had a problem with Quidditch.
What is that?
Just like the scoring.
There's only one thing that matters. Right? There's all this crap going on. Just catch the stupid golden ball games over.
It's just the whole golden snitch thing. Okay, the normal goals are worth 10 points. Catching the snitch is worth 150 points, and it ends the game. So whoever catches the snitch wins, period. It renders all other aspects of the sport completely irrelevant. Right. Why did they even bother with keepers and seekers and beaters?
Why do they have a
bludgers and all that kind of stuff?
Whatever they have.
Just have everyone go after the snitch. You catch it, you win. Everything else is a complete waste of time. Maybe it's the sports fan in me, but Quidditch does not make a lick of sense.
You just need to embrace the magicalness of the game. I think that's the problem. You don't want to straddle a broom while you're going after some golden golf ball with wings.
All that part I can get. It's just the scoring of it. If they made like catching the snitch like 30 points or 50 points or something, but they make it so it's going to outweigh all the goals either team has. You could be down by 10 goals. You could be down by 14 goals. You catch the snitch, you win. I just have all the other scoring is a complete waste of time.
I have this vision of John sitting there with his kid, and he's like, "That's bullshit." He's like, standing.
Absolutely. It's like a basketball. If there was like 100-point shot from the other side of the court, you're down by like 50 points. You just chuck in 100-point shot from the other.
With a second ball, right? There's like an extra ball. If you shoot the green ball, it's 100 points. So there's like two guys playing with the green ball mid-court.
Yeah, it renders all other aspects of the game completely irrelevant.
I gotta confess, I would watch that. And I don't like sports.
Yeah, so like you have a normal basketball game playing on. Then you have one guy on the other side of the court with a tennis ball trying to throw it in the hoop all the way across the court.
With a tennis racket.
Yeah, and if he makes it in over the course of the entire game, that team wins automatically, and everything else you saw was a complete waste of everyone's time. That's what Quidditch is like.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Your age is
It is.
grumpy old man.
When the rules of like fantasy games on broomsticks irk me, I'm over 40. It's just the way it works.
Oh, well, you, Zach, what you watching? You watched Mortal Kombat.
I did watch Mortal Kombat.
How was that?
I didn't get past the first act, so you got to tell me.
Oh my! Are you serious? It was amazing.
Uh-huh.
You mean with like Raul Julia?
No, the new not Street Fighter. There was a new Mortal Kombat that came out.
Yeah, I did not know there was one.
Back actually, you guys missed it.
Oh
wow. Without Christopher Lambert, there really was no Mortal Kombat for me. But
the French guy who played the Asian god Raiden.
He also played the Scottish Highlander. So
and he played Tarzan.
So really, he can do anything. I wish he was the next Terminator. Honestly, it was good. I echo what your sentiments about the first act. It started off strong. Wasn't it you that told me that?
The first scene was awesome.
The first scene, yeah. I guess that's what I mean, not first act. It was everything you would expect, but just with a higher budget. They set up the story for Sub-Zero and Scorpion really well, and then it just fell apart. The whole thing fell apart. They had to throw in the finish him and get over here, and they had to throw all of those in. It was very gory, which I enjoyed.
Hence the cannibal story that's coming up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Cannibalism, necrophilia. I mean, I'm all over the place, but kind of all in the same area.
I see.
Welcome to the podcast. The what's his name? Kano, the Australian guy.
Kano was the criminal guy with the.
And they kept trying to make him funny, but he wasn't at all. I mean, it was lowbrow humor, and I'm pretty lowbrow, so that was. I mean, it was awful. There was one funny part though, and it was when this guy was sweeping his leg and knocking him over and over. And he's like, "Is that the only move you have?" Which echoes all of us playing Mortal Kombat when we were a kid, and that one guy keeps using the same move over and over to kick your ass, and you say, "Is that the only move you know?"
Yeah.
So that was the only really I got a chuckle out of that. Otherwise, the movie was terrible. I'll be honest.
I don't know why I had high hopes for it. I shouldn't have. I mean,
they did the trailers right.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because it was violent.
It was a throwback to my childhood,
Yeah.
So.
But I'm going to preface this with this is medicinal and it's totally legal, but I get stoned and watch Adventure Time. And it's for the PTSD, the Adventure Time is. And oh my hell, that is the funniest show when you're stoned. I mean, anything is funny when you're stoned, but it takes it a step farther. I swear the writers are stoned when they.
I'm sure they are.
It's amazing. Awesome. It's an adventure.
That's great. So who wants to start? Who wants to go first?
I don't want to go first.
Okay.
You want me to, or
I'll go first actually, because I got something it's funny, but it's also not funny, and so I've been kind of into this, and my wife's been kind of making fun of me a little bit, and And I should preface this with I'm a pretty religious guy, and I don't think these things are mutually exclusive, but I have been way into the fact that the government has just admitted that UFOs are a thing. I've been watching like all these like news reports and interviews with like Air Force pilots, and my wife Megan's been kind of making fun of me for it, but even President Obama, former President Obama, came out and said, yeah, they're real. We don't know what they are. So I don't really have a specific article. I have several things that I've been reading about it, but I want to get you guys' take. We can start with Dave. What do you think? Like, this is kind of funny. I mean, I don't know. When I was 13, I was like super into aliens and stuff, and then I kind of grew up. But I watched this one report where this true believer was basically orgasmic about the fact that the government has said that these things are real. I expected him to scream like, "I told you so," but from his like basement where he's got like posters like "I believe," and What do you think, Dave? What do you think of this UFO transparency from our government?
Well, of course, the fact that it's unidentified means it could be human, right?
Yeah, that's actually more terrifying to me than anything.
Right, this is the thing, right? So one terrifying possibility is Chinese space program, aerospace is a lot more powerful than we thought.
Yeah,
right?
That's scary.
Or the Russians have things that move in ways we can't explain. Or there's the terrifying question, okay, what if it's not human, right? And they're here. The government hasn't said they're talking to anybody. So what do they think, right? I mean, I have long been a believer that the sheer size of the universe means it is strikingly improbable that there's not intelligent life out there. Like it seems inevitable to me. But the question is, just because there is intelligent life does not mean it's friendly.
Yeah.
Or that it's going to think or behave at all along lines compatible with human civilizations. So, and then I wonder, why is the government admitting to it now? It doesn't seem like anyone's forced their hand, does it? There's been these things, people have been talking about these for, 60, 70 years. It's not like something just happened and, January 6th, 1 million people out on the mall in DC all saw a UFO. Now they can't deny it, right?
Yeah.
So why is the government telling people about it? So I worry.
Yeah. And I want to be clear. My first impulse is not that it's aliens. I'm not that guy on the meme,
No, but it could be.
It could be, yeah. Again, like I said, I'm a pretty religious guy, but I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I don't think they're coming down and picking up drunk farmers and probing them, I don't know. I've never really believed the abduction stories because they're always like weird.
Well, it's always like a Randy Quaid from Independence Day type of character,
Yeah. We've reached the limits of what anal probing can teach us. So now
maybe that's it. Yeah. Like, we know a lot about your polyps, but now it's time.
They're like, you really should
understand the government.
You need to get a colonoscopy, Jason, says the alien gray as he disappears. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy to me. What do you guys think? Zach's hoping it's aliens.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The sheer enormity of the universe, as Dave said. I mean, if you were to look at the light coming from, I can't remember how far away, or I believe, did they say the quote unquote Big Bang? The light that you see anyway from so far away is from the time period of the Roman Empire, just with the way that quantum mechanics work, I guess. I don't even know if I'm using the right.
The speed of light. No, that's exactly right. So we see things, our nearest neighbor, we're seeing the light that left 4 years ago.
Okay, so yeah, and that just leaves so much time for there to be this intelligent life out there that could possibly be. I mean, maybe their planet's destroyed and they're coming to get ours. I don't know. It could be anything. But I also don't trust the government. So there's a little bit of conspiracy theory in there for me that they're just waving something shiny to some of us. Again, like Dave said, the Chinese aerospace program.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
We always think of ourselves as the dominant power in the world, and that it would only be us that has this, technology, and the government's covering it up because they're the ones. But it could be anybody.
I just hope they look like Alf. I hope they're Muppets, intergalactic Muppets. I mean, that's
everything I could ever want.
I'll die a happy man if they come out, and like you don't know how they're walking because they look like they got a hand up their backside. So
I believe in aliens.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm going to be going to Skinwalker Ranch here fairly soon.
Oh, nice.
Taking a trip out there. I want to do. I like the paranormal. I like the UFOs. I like all of that stuff. And the government admitting this has done nothing for me. It really. That's why I don't understand why it. Like he said, why nobody forced their hand.
Yeah, that's true.
What's going on?
A good point.
It did nothing to change anything that I felt. I didn't go, oh, see, because I just don't trust them. It's probably their own shit that's flying around, causing radioactivity and giving people cancer or whatever. But that's what I think. I don't know.
John? We kind of talked about this on the way to Vegas, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I keep an open mind about things like this. I don't give like a definitive opinion, more like I believe in UFOs or I don't, but I try and keep open about it. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably like Dave was saying, like a experimental aircraft from another government or something, like another country is, working on some kind of high-tech project or something. And like Zach was saying, I mean, the USA kind of thinks that they're the center of the world, but in they're really not. I mean, we have no idea what other countries are working on. They're not obligated to tell us what their projects are. And so I would say it's probably more likely something run by humans, but again,
we better start learning
no idea.
Mandarin then.
But we're guessing the countries that sound most likely, but really we have no idea.
I'm guessing Sweden, honestly.
I'm guessing Poland.
Everything.
It's Poland.
You think Poland?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Just throwing out
It's Poland
at this point.
I trust the Poles to be in favor of human freedom.
My guess would be it's some kind of experimental craft or something like that.
Crazy.
That'd be my guess.
Or maybe the whole thing is like a psyop, right? Maybe it's all psychological warfare. Maybe the U.S. is trying to cover its own use of experimental aircraft by trying to convince the world that if you see a light like this, we don't know what it is. Ooh, could be aliens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that too.
Who knows?
You don't even know how honest, say, politicians are.
The federal government.
Oh no, we know that they're dishonest.
We don't know what it is.
We know they're liars. We know they're liars.
We do, but we don't know about what specifically. But they could very well know what it is and say, "Oh, we don't know what this is."
But don't you lie on your taxes.
Yeah, only we can lie.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Correct.
So, I mean, coup anyone?
Yeah. Well, I'm too lazy actually, and I think that's why this government never has to worry about us overthrowing them. We're all
Laziness.
too busy watching reality TV. So awesome. Who wants to go next with their?
This is from Oxygen Crime News.
Sounds reputable.
It is. You'll be able to tell by the writing that it's.
Isn't that Oprah's network, Oxygen?
Yeah.
You can't trust Oprah.
I assumed that was the definition of the type of crime. This is a news about oxygen crimes.
Sorry, Zach.
Oh, no, you're fine. All right. So October 23rd, 2020 is when this was written by Dorian Geiger. So don't sue us. No morgue, no ER. Suspected cannibals allegedly performed botched castration, froze body parts for consumption. Bobby Lee Allen, who allegedly operated an underground sex change clinic out of an Oklahoma cabin.
Wait, what? Underground sex change?
This is what drew me to the article.
A cabin in Oklahoma.
Yeah. I mean, shit,
It's like a barn or
purchased
something.
medical supplies out of a van. Is it any different? Okay, so Bobby Lee Allen, who allegedly operated an underground sex change clinic out of an Oklahoma cabin.
Well, one more real quick thing. I love how he has two first names, Bobby Lee.
It's so on the nose. I gotta wonder, right? That's Robert E. Lee Allen. That's what we're being told, right? Okay, so Robert E. Lee Allen, a guy who we imagine he has a Confederate flag on his pickup, the trunk of his pickup car, right? That's what we're being.
Yeah.
This is where we're
in rural Oklahoma. Okay, so some Irish dude. Okay, runs a sex change clinic in the hills. right? Like the next hill over is Leatherface. This hill is the sex change club. Okay, go on.
This guy told one victim he ate the extracted reproductive organs, according to authorities. So now that they said that, the news article starts. 2 alleged cannibals are accused of running a makeshift clinic in Oklahoma where they performed illicit sex change procedures. Bobby Lee Allen, 53, and Thomas Evans Gates, 42, were arrested last week after a botched surgery on an unidentified man who allegedly commissioned the pair to carry out his own castration, the Oklahoman reported. The man who traveled from Virginia. This guy's reporting it. Okay, just keep this in mind, but he's the one seeking this out. The man who traveled from Virginia to the pair's cabin in Oklahoma wound up hospitalized following the amateur procedure on October 12th. He later told detectives he found Allen online after searching the web for castrations. Allen, the victim alleged, said he had 15 years of surgical experience and promised to perform the operation free of charge. No red flags there.
You're going to keep whatever we cut off. That's the charge.
Basically. That's exactly right.
That's the same logic that says they can keep roadkill, that is on their property.
It's a little further than that. It's a little further. So in what sense did they botch the castration?
Well,
they took it all off?
He ended up bleeding too much. So I do believe it was all taken off. But maybe they didn't suture him up well. They didn't get into that. They just told him it wouldn't cost anything. And there was one hook. Allen was willing to perform the operation because he, quote, videos the procedures for personal use. So there's more to this. Not just a cannibal, but I don't know what that is.
Oh.
The victim told law enforcement that after arriving at the cabin, Allen, assisted by Gates, initiated the roughly 2-hour surgery. The procedure began with injections in the needed areas. Let's see.
I think they were the areas not needed, actually.
See, this writing is awful.
This here's Novocaine. It's going to numb your willy. I stole it from my dentist.
So, you give these guys like another year and a half, and this is going to be an identity that would be dangerous to criticize, right? So, So laugh while you can. That's what I'm saying, because
I think they're going to have their own reality show after they get out of prison.
There's going to be a box on the census form. Are
you Bobby Lee's creation?
Are you self-eating? Yes. No, I think bled more than I expected was also the comment that German cannibal 20 years ago made. We cut off the guy's junk. It bled more than we expected. Then we fried it and ate it together. Right? As I recall, he was named Thomas.
He also read the guy's Star Trek novels as he died in the bathtub.
Oh, I didn't get to
That's a little weird.
Yeah.
Kind of sweet though, right?
He's like, it's the whole Spock Captain Kirk scene, when Spock is dying.
Yeah.
No. I will be your friend forever.
Allen eventually took the man to the hospital, although he warned him to tell hospital staff he done it to himself, according to the affidavit.
I was mowing the lawn. I slipped.
I got attacked by a possum. He bit my wheelie.
I think the real key question, though, Zach, is what subreddit were you on when you found it?
Oh, I literally looked up bizarre crimes. That's all I did. I plead the fifth after that. Because my subreddit is none of your business. My subreddit browsing.
It's Cannibal Zach is his screen name on Reddit.
I'm looking it up right now.
Because I think Cannibal Cafe's been shut down, so I don't have anywhere to go. Let's see. I accidentally skipped ahead about the hospital. Following the operation, Allen allegedly told the man he intended to eat the man's reproductive organs and showed him pictures on his phone of body parts belonging to former clients in his freezer.
Oh my gosh.
Allen stated after the surgery was over that Allen said I'm so confused, that he was going to consume the parts and laughed and said he was a cannibal. Allen, who claimed he had half a dozen more clients scheduled. lucrative business.
Yeah.
Free.
No. It's free. He didn't charge them.
But he's getting all the balls and stuff.
What I find is he
He gets all the junk he can eat. They call it junk food for a reason.
Where is the high hat? Allen, who claimed he had half a dozen more clients scheduled, then regaled the stunned patient with ghastly accounts of other genital mutilations he had carried out. The victim told authorities. The 53-year-old allegedly complained about one crazy client whom he left opened up to die overnight, authorities said. So the following day, Allen allegedly told the man, who suffered heavy bleeding in the procedure's aftermath, that if he died or passed out, they'd dump his body parts in the woods. No morgue, no ER, Allen allegedly said. Done it to himself. County authorities said they later discovered what appeared to be frozen testicles in a freezer of the cabin where the illegal procedure allegedly occurred. I can't say it's cult activity, LaFleur County Sheriff Rodney Derryberry told the It is something that we've never in my career run across in this part of the country. It is borderline some type of activity, ... We know there's a lot of rumors out there, but at this time, there's no danger to the public. Liam Gates has been charged with medical battery, maiming, desecration of a human member. Now that's stellar writing.
That's a crime. Desecration of a human member.
Aggravated assault and battery with a dangerous weapon resulting in great bodily injury, conspiracy, possession of a controlled substance or paraphernalia, and outraging public decency with gross injury.
Okay, so what we're hearing though is that actual cannibalism is not a crime.
I think he's right.
Because he wasn't charged any counts of cannibalism.
Right, but can they prove? I mean, they would have to pump his stomach, see, if he's eaten any of that recently.
It sounds like he
I'm just saying. I think if you were discreet about it, if you didn't show off the contents of your freezer, you just had like a nice little. You said to your neighbor, "How is the pork loin?" Right? Apparently, that's fine.
Oh my gosh! Are you sure that's not from The Onion? Because that. I'm kidding. Yeah.
That's from the Onion router. That came from the dark web.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what that is.
I use Tor. Just kidding. I don't get on the dark web. Wow, I'm gonna have nightmares now. So I'm never gonna eat another hot dog.
I'll be the big spin.
All right, John, what you got for us? And it better be about Russia.
I don't know how pigeonhole myself into one specific thing.
His last 3 stories have been about Russia.
Just my last 2.
Russia generates some stories.
It did. With the weather getting nice, I'm looking to spend more time outdoors. I'm a big outdoor person, so along those lines, I thought I'd share some recent scientific discoveries about the animal kingdom.
Oh no!
This is one you sent me actually a few months ago, Jason, but it never got its due. But anyway, this is there's a lot of different places that have this article posted, but this one's from something called Art Daily. It says platypuses glow under a black light, and scientists have no idea why. I mean,
but you should invite one to your party.
What do you think?
Platypus rave.
They are already like the
joke.
Yeah, basically the joke of the animal kingdom.
Rude.
I mean, they're a mismatch of so many different animals.
Beaver/duck that's also venomous.
They look like
its mouth. It's venomous from its leg instead.
That's 100% right. I mean, they look like the bastard love child of a duck and a beaver. They have a poisonous spur on their foot. Their beaks can sense electricity. They're one of the only animals that lay eggs.
Dark light.
And now apparently they glow blue or green under a UV light.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's like if scientists found out that platypuses could shapeshift or teleport or shoot lasers out of their eyes, you basically just shrug and say, yeah, that sounds about right.
Platypus. Yeah.
It's a platypus. I mean, they pretty much do everything.
Well, it does live in Australia.
Yeah.
Maybe they're behind the UFOs. That's just another plot of
That wouldn't even
dysfunction.
surprise me. If scientists like find them like levitating or something, you just kind of shrug and say, "Oh, okay, that's just a platypus." I suppose that's another thing they can do.
So I've read octopuses are the creature that has the least DNA in common with anything else. Isn't that right? They have some like shockingly alien DNA to the rest of the animal kingdom.
It's interesting you brought that up, though, because my next story is about octopuses.
Octopi.
So octopi, however you say it.
I caught the quaffle, snitch. But what's it called? Snitch. The
snitch, yeah.
150 points. Game over.
Yeah. So anyway, this next one, there's even a lot of footage that goes with this one. It's actually fun to watch. But anyway, it says, oops, something popped up.
Me too.
Octopuses punch fish, sometimes for no apparent reason.
There's a reason.
Because they're fish.
And there's so much videos of it. Like sometimes you can explain it. Like the octopus is sitting there with some food, fish come by, so they shoot out an arm and slap the fish away. That makes sense. But there's other times you look at the footage, it just shows them scurrying along the ocean floor. They pass a fish and just randomly shoot out an arm and bitch slap the fish for no reason at all. I believe the scientific term for that behavior is being a dick. But yeah, it says they seem to hit fish entirely out of spite sometimes. Octopuses punch fish deliberately. Sometimes there's a reason, but other times there's no discernible excuse. And yeah, this diver is being interviewed watching. He says, "I almost choked on my regulator. When I saw it for the first time, I just burst out laughing." And yeah, there's plenty of video of it, and it is really funny. So
we need to put that on our Facebook page.
Yeah, so put that on there of an octopus just scurrying along and shooting an arm out, hitting fish just for the hell of it.
Where the hell's PETA when you need him, right?
Because it's a lesser Terran life form, and the octopus is waiting for its pyramidal flying spaceship to come down and take it to its meetings with Joe Biden.
That's right.
Yeah. I like those rare moments when something in the animal kingdom reminds you that humans are not always the biggest dicks in the animal kingdom. We usually are, but every once in a while, one of them can give us a run for our money, and that's always comforting to know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, that's what I got this week.
Animal Kingdom. There's no Russian animals on there.
Well, octopuses live all over. So there's some of them in Russia.
You know, with all the Russian stories you've told us, I've grown to realize that Russia is the Florida of Asia.
Every news story starts out, a Florida man.
Yeah. No,
I mean, to be fair, I've told 2 Russian stories. You make it sound like I've told 20, but
he said 3.
I thought it was 3. It's just 2.
I just said all.
No. One in between, I had a Japanese.
Oh, that's right. All right. Well, I'm wrong. I can't count. Okay. So
we're trying to pigeonhole you. It's not working.
He's reaching out like the proverbial octopus and smacking us in the face. Well, Dave, where are you? When's the next time you're going to be like at a convention? So you're going to GalaxyCon, is that right?
Yeah. So what I have for the schedule for the rest of the year is GalaxyCon in Raleigh. We still got to finalize the travel, but that's looking like a go. End of July. And then end of August, beginning of September, Labor Day weekend, Dragon Con has indicated they'll have me back. That's good.
Nice.
Yeah, they're that's a great show. You guys should all come. It's nerdy gras. It's
I've heard things that you stay in your hotel room after a certain time of night.
The things you've heard are all true. Yeah.
Where's this at?
Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Atlanta. So it's like 120,000 sweaty sci-fi fantasy fans half naked parading. You know, that's true. So it's a great show. And then I think FanX is maybe 2 weeks later.
September 16th.
Mid-September. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So that's, as far as I know, what I have lined up for the rest of the year in terms of public appearances. Last year was, obliterated.
Yeah.
This year, we're starting to come back a little bit.
Well, cool. And when you said you haven't had too much time to write, but do you have anything coming out soon, or?
So my next novel is going to be about a year away. It's the first novel in a new series. At least the title, as I turned it into the editor, is Abbott in Darkness. It's a it's what it really is, you know, in the age of sail, the age when the East India Company and the other big kind of first multinational companies really made all their loot. You know, one of the sort of defining limitations is how long it took you to get anywhere. So if you went out to India, it took you months to get there. It took you months for news to get back and forth, right? All this moved really, really slow. So this is sort of like an East India Company type story. There's a single planet we've sort of stumbled on because of a wormhole out near Jupiter, and it's under control of a U.S. chartered corporation called the Sarovar Company, which is exploiting its resources. It's about a young accountant who, beginning of his career, the hero was an accountant who, in fact, I had an accountant read the book. I said, Jace, tell me if I got the accounting wrong. And he emailed back a week later, said the accounting is spot on. Perfect. So it's about a young accountant who's got a highly leveraged life. He's a dad. He has 2 daughters, and he married young. He's got 2 daughters. He's just out of school. He's got a lot of debt. He could fit right on this podcast. And he gets to this planet, like he's got this great plum starting job, but realizes basically has no way back. And right, he's sort of stuck here. He's got to make it work or die, and it starts to discover that the company's corrupt. There's gun runners, corrupt and manipulative intelligence agents, and executives. And this is about a hero who he's got sort of action chops. His family is pilots. He himself is not a pilot because he has Marfan syndrome, which is a disease in which your connective tissues are weak. And so really rapid acceleration or deceleration, like falling, you're actually likely to, if you have Marfan's, your heart will detach from everything else and you die of a heart attack. So you're susceptible. So you can't pull G's because it'll just kill you. So he ended up getting, cut from the Air Force. So he's got this kind of a, action family, but is himself a traitor. It's about winning by negotiation, winning by peaceful trading. So hopefully Tony likes it enough. She not only sends me the contract, but actually a series, because all by itself, it will make sense, but it's sort of a weird standalone novel, but it'd be a good series about this guy making a career in a company which is corrupt without himself becoming corrupted, is what it's really about.
Wow, that sounds really good and really fun.
That's kind of a good example of all Dave's books. They're very fleshed out. They have very unique spins. You're not going to get your regular sci-fi fare or fantasy fare. So definitely check out Dave's stuff, and I'm going to look forward to that.
And accurate accounting.
And accurate, vetted by a CPA.
Correct.
Any updates on the audiobook for Witchy Eye?
That stuff started coming out. Yeah. So my books are part of a deal that Baen struck. It took years of negotiation with recorded books. So my Baen books all now come out pretty quickly. Cunning Man and Jupiter Knife are both out in audiobook. And so is In the Palace of Shadow and Joy, has a very weird looking grimdark cover, but fine. And all 4 of the Wishy War books that are out now have audiobooks. Yeah. So that turned the corner like last year.
Oh man, where was that?
From nothing to having 7 audiobooks, right, with Baen in the course of like 8 months.
Well, I am going to download Witchy Eye tomorrow and start listening to it because
oh man, thanks.
Yeah, I need something to listen to, and I've been wanting to read it, but
we'll say about Witchy Eye, people love the narrator. 2 things. There are songs in the book, and even though Baen said, hey, listen, these songs have real melodies, ask Dave, he'll give you the music. They didn't ask. And also, they do their own art, and the cover art for Witchy Eye in particular kind of looks a little bit like a woman's face and something a cannibal might eat put together. And but more something a cannibal might eat off a female victim, and so it's a little weird. Like you look at him like, this is a very strange image.
Yeah,
this is, and like my daughter said it. They're like, Dad, is that like a human face superimposed on it? And I said, man, it looks like it, doesn't it? I don't know. I'm just telling you, it wasn't my choice. That's it. The narrator I've heard is great. The cover art, I don't know where it came from.
Oh my gosh. Well, then we also have Rock Band Fights Evil. Make sure you check that out so Zach can get paid. Not you, Dave, but everyone listening. So it's good stuff. Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast. We love you, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with you again at hopefully Fan X. You know, that's going to be a lot of fun. We got a booth for Immortal Works, and yeah,
Awesome.
We'll be there.
We'll post
it, man.
Sorry, we'll post Dave's links on our Facebook page.
Yeah, please check out his stuff. It's good stuff. So, all right, Dave.
What a pleasure.
Anything else you want to leave us with? Any words of wisdom?
No, I think it's all been said. I think anyone who's still around is really not in the shape for wisdom.
Well, I guess we could
a lot of dedication.
We could end with the moral of the story is do not ever accept the services of a Southern home do-yourself surgeon.
His name is Robert E. Lee Allen or Tommy Gates. They live in Appalachia. You don't want what they're selling.
All right. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
All right.